Welcome back to our channel, James Cagney. His name is synonymous with the gritty, hard-edged image of the American gangster in movies. But beneath the tough exterior lay a soul deeply passionate about art, a complex individual with aspirations that extended far beyond the screen. The American Film Institute is proud to welcome James Cagney as our guest of honor. What was the idea behind pulling that line last night? You thought you were pretty smart breaking up to meet like that, didn't you? You made me look like a heel in front of all those people. And gee me the bite ever since. The life of James Cagney was not just a story of success and fame behind the applause and the spotlight. From a boy born into poverty in New York's Lower East Side to becoming one of Hollywood's brightest stars, he underwent significant losses, grueling battles, and internal conflicts that were frequently difficult to resolve. 34 silver screen. He not only captivated audiences with his iconic tough guy roles, but also astounded the world with his singing, dancing, and unwavering dedication to the film industry. Explain how James Cagney, a legend not only of the screen, but also a symbol of the film industry, shaped this resilient, multifaceted man who shone so brightly on screen. How did a man of humble beginnings transform the face of Hollywood not only through his performances, but also through his significant contributions to protecting actors' rights? Throughout the highs and lows of his career, James Cagney constantly sought a balance between the demands of his career and his desire for a simple life on his farm, where he found a rare sense of peace, tenacity, inventiveness, and unwavering spirit. James Francis Cagney was born on July 17, 1899, in Manhattan's Lower East Side. This neighborhood was not for the weak of heart. The streets were packed, noisy, and full of obstacles. The working class there struggled to make ends meet, and poverty was felt not only through low pay, but also through the terrible effects of subpar living conditions. The Cagney family was no exception. James's father, James Francis Cagney Sr., was a bartender and amateur boxer. James was the second of 7 siblings, but tragedy struck early in their lives as 2 of them died in childhood. His early years were marked by illness and loss. He was a frail child, so much so that his mother feared he wouldn't live long enough to be baptized. 30 James worked tirelessly to provide for his family. His mother, Carolyn Elizabeth, a strong-willed woman of Norwegian and Irish descent, became the emotional anchor for her children during those difficult years. East Side only made her worries worse, but even in their darkest moments, Carolyn gave her kids a love for life, resilience, and hope for a better future. However, James's parents' life was anything but easy. His father, a man with a fighting spirit, did everything he could, but the meager money he made from bartending and amateur boxing matches wasn't enough to keep him from going hungry or freezing. But he left James a priceless legacy, a resolute determination to overcome adversity. James grew up. James's childhood was spent constantly moving from East 79th Street to East 96th Street as the family looked for better living conditions, but poverty followed them everywhere they went. Despite this, James's life wasn't completely dark. He had a unique appearance that set him apart from other kids, and he soon showed intelligence. 03. 46 learning lessons in perseverance, responsibility, and the belief that no obstacle was insurmountable. Then tragedy struck again in 1918 when the Spanish flu pandemic swept the world, killing millions of people, including James's father. His death left a huge void in the family and forced James, who was only 19 at the time, to take on the responsibilities of an adult. All of his plans to attend Columbia College, where he had dreamed of studying art, were dissolved, and he had to give up those aspirations in order to work and support his mother and siblings. James threw himself into a number of odd jobs, including doorman at a fancy restaurant, bellhop at a hotel, library assistant, and even apprentice architect. He did everything he could to earn a few hard-earned dollars, and these long workdays gave him a steely determination and a work ethic that lasted a lifetime. Each job left its mark, offering not only life experiences, but also forming a keen sense of observation and sharp wit traits that would later set James Cagney apart on the silver screen. The turning point occurred when James was hired by the New York Public Library, where he met Florence James, a theater industry participant who recognized unrealized potential in the young man, a special combination of a strong personality, skillful tap dancing, and natural charisma. With Florence's support, James started to think of the stage as a completely new world to him at the time, and then, as if by fate, the impoverished Lower East Side boy James Cagney started his journey to become one of Hollywood's greatest legends. James's foray into the arts was coincidental, but as soon as he took the stage, his destiny was irrevocably changed. At first, James worked backstage for a pantomime production at Lenox Hill Neighborhood House, where his brother Harry was performing. James was happy to stay behind the scenes because Harry was shy and insecure. But an unexpected turn of events occurred when Harry became ill and was unable to perform. The show's director, Florence James, whom James had met at the library, James stepped in thanks to his extraordinary memory and keen observational skills. James had already committed the entire script and choreography to memory, and that night he not only performed flawlessly, but also received thunderous applause from the audience. For the first time in his life, James experienced the thrill and connection that the stage could provide. It was the moment James realized he belonged in the spotlight, but he wasn't totally sure about his future. Despite knowing only one dance, the Peabody Body, James quickly learned other steps by watching others while waiting for his turn to audition. His ability to pick things up quickly earned him a role with a weekly salary of $35, which was a significant sum compared to his previous jobs. However, this production had a unique twist. All male chorus members were required to dress as women. James was not fazed by this at all, later stating that once he was on stage, he was no longer intimidated. However, his mother, who placed a high value on education, was unhappy with his career choice. To please her, James took a day job at a stock brokerage firm while secretly continuing to attend auditions at night. Another significant opportunity came when he was cast in the play Petty Patter, where he not only performed, but also served as a costume assistant for one of the lead actors. 08-13 Longer himself, he fully embodied his role. Actors. He met Francis "Billy" Vernon, a fellow performer in the show, during this time. Their romance blossomed, and a few years later, in 1922, they were married, becoming partners in life and on stage. James and Billy performed together on the vaudeville circuit, which was a popular form of entertainment at the time. The two became a dynamic act that combined comedy, singing, and dancing in captivating performances. But life in vaudeville was anything but easy. With daily performances, constant touring, and unpredictable income, presented major obstacles motivated by greater ambitions. So James and Billy made the decision to try their luck in Hollywood. They came to California with the intention of realizing their dreams, but reality did not see their potential. So after a short stay, they returned to New York, discouraged but unflinching. James then chose to concentrate on roles that called for more dramatic acting, and in 1925 he was cast in the play Outside Looking In as a red-haired drifter, a character that coincidentally matched James's own remarkable appearance, marked the first time he demonstrated his acting abilities in a serious role, receiving critical acclaim. This success led to his participation in another Broadway play, which was successful and was scheduled to move to London. However, the producer abruptly replaced James, leaving James and Billy devastated and even homeless, as they had already made plans to move to England. Despite the setback, James refused to give up and opened a dance school to still looking for opportunities on stage. He eventually found a part in Penny Arcade, a play that was a commercial failure, but ultimately proved to be the most important turning point in his career. Renowned actor Al Jolson saw potential in the play and bought the rights to make a movie out of it, provided that James and his co-star, Joan Blondell, reprised their roles. Warner Brothers agreed, and the movie Signer's Holiday was released in 1930. This role not only introduced James to Hollywood, but also established the tough guy persona that he would represent for years to come. It was the start of a legendary career of success and accomplishments. After his role in Signer's Holiday 1930, James Cagney made a name for himself in Hollywood with his intense and distinctive acting style. But it was his role in Public Enemy 1931 that really made him famous. In the movie, he played a violent and menacing gangster named Tom Powers. One of his most famous scenes was when he smashed a grapefruit into his on-screen wife's face. The Public Enemy not only made Cagney a household name, but also marked a pivotal moment in American cinema, elevating the gangster genre to new heights. However, being typecast as a gangster quickly became a significant issue for Cagney. Warner Brothers keen to capitalize on. Actress Mae Clarke was caught completely off guard. This moment not only became emblematic of the film, but also of Cagney's career. The role broke the idealized hero archetype of Hollywood at the time, introducing a gritty, complex character who was both terrifying and captivating. Although movies like Taxi, 1932, Angels with Dirty Faces, 1938, and White Heat, 1949, were huge hits, Cagney's tough guy appeal kept giving him similar roles. He became frustrated with being limited to a single persona and yearned to play more varied roles, which frequently resulted in conflicts with the students. The tension peaked in 1935 when Cagney famously sued Warner Brothers for breach of contract. At a time when few actors dared to challenge the major studios, Cagney's daring move set a precedent, and he won the case. Victory gave him more control over his career, making him one of the first actors to achieve artistic autonomy with newfound freedom. However, Yankee Doodle Dandy 1942 marked a significant turning point in his career, as Cagney played the multi-talented Broadway icon George M. Cohan. In this role, he demonstrated his extraordinary acting, dancing, and singing skills, and won the Academy Award for Best Actor, one of his most prestigious honors. Despite this victory, Cagney's relationship with Warner Brothers remained tense. After Yankee Doodle Dandy's success, he decided to start his own production company, Cagney Productions, in an attempt to escape the control of major studios and pursue projects he was truly passionate about, but the business failed to find commercial success. Career Yankee Doodle Dandy solidified Cagney's reputation as a versatile performer capable of transcending the stereotypes that had once defined him. One of Cagney's most memorable roles came in White Heat, 1949, when he returned to the gangster genre with a fresh and nuanced approach as Cody Jarrett Cagney, a psychologically unstable gangster plagued by intense headaches and an obsessive relationship with his mother. And after a string of financial losses, it was forced to close in 1953. Looking back on this chapter of his career, Cagney expressed no regrets, saying that the opportunity to exercise creative control was worth more than any box office profit. Over the course of a career spanning more than 3 decades, James Cagney consistently challenged himself and defied expectations, turning seemingly straightforward roles into rich, emotional, and authentic characters. This legacy of championing artists' rights stands alongside his remarkable performances as one of his greatest contributions to the industry. Important milestones improving working conditions for actors and curbing exploitation by major studios. Despite being one of Hollywood's biggest stars, James Cagney never took things for granted. He was not only a gifted artist, but also someone who steadfastly fought to defend his personal values and the rights of actors. As a result, his career was not only a tale of success, but also of intense struggles against some of the most powerful forces in the industry. Relentless advocate for actors, Cagney embodied unyielding spirit and creative passion, leaving an indelible mark on the history of cinema conflicts and struggles. Film industry. From his early days at Warner Brothers, Cagney soon discovered that the Hollywood studio system at the time not only controlled projects, but also imposed unfavorable terms on actors. Cagney's initial salary was only $400 per week, but he soon realized that his true worth was not being reflected. He wasn't just helping the film succeed, but was one of the major players, bringing in millions of dollars for the studio instead of being fairly compensated. He was also frequently cast in similar roles, and when Warner Brothers broke his contract in 1935 by making him star in up to 5 films in a single year and even relegating him to supporting roles in some projects, Cagney, with the help of his brother and manager, William Cagney, decided to sue Warner Brothers. This was an audacious move at a time when actors rarely dared to challenge studios for fear of being blacklisted, but Cagney was denied his requests for higher pay or fewer films. Never one to back down, his battle was not only about reclaiming his rights, but also about questioning how Hollywood operated. The legal battle lasted for months and received a lot of public attention. In the end, James Cagney won the case, which was a historic event that not only strengthened his position, but also taught major students about respecting actors' rights. Warner Brothers was then forced to renegotiate his contract, guaranteeing him a salary of $150 per film, limiting his workload. Cagney's efforts continued after he realized the systemic injustices in the industry and became one of the founding members of the Screen Actors Guild (SA) in 1933, an organization dedicated to protecting actors' rights and improving their working conditions. This was a monumental step forward for Cagney and other actors who would be inspired to fight for their rights to 2 films per year and, more importantly, allowing him to choose his own projects. As a leader, he assumed the position of SAG president in 1942. Under his direction, SAG accomplished important successes, such as the abolition of block booking, a practice in which studios made theaters buy entire packages of movies, including low-quality ones. In addition to his conflicts with Warner Brothers, Cagney was also known as the professional against for his unyielding spirit. One such instance was when actor Douglas Fairbanks Jr. organized a charity campaign during the Public Enemy movie, in which all cast members were required to make required donations. Although Cagney was willing to make a donation, he opposed the idea of making it mandatory because he firmly believed that charity should come from genuine willingness rather than coercion. His honesty and steadfastness occasionally earned him a reputation for being difficult to work with, but it also earned him respect from peers and colleagues. However, the conflicts weren't limited to studios or peers. They also existed within Cagney himself. Despite his success on screen, he frequently felt trapped in the tough guy image that both Hollywood and audiences forced him to do more in order to showcase different aspects of his personality and skills. But each time he tried to break free from this mold, he encountered commercial failures, as demonstrated with Johnny recently 1943 and The Time of Your Life 1948. These setbacks left Cagney divided between pursuing artistic fulfillment and satisfying commercial expectations. But it was these conflicts and struggles that made James Cagney an indispensable figure. He was not just an actor, but also a symbol of perseverance who fought tirelessly for what he believed in. Though famous for his tough, cold, and strong-willed characters on screen, James Cagney was actually a deeply compassionate person who put family and personal values above all else. He was also a talented actor, felt that his career is a testament to upholding personal values in an industry that frequently sought to control its artists. At every stage of his career, James Cagney remained the embodiment of an indomitable spirit, a man who refused to accept the limits others tried to impose on his personal life, as well as a loving husband, a complicated father, and a man who constantly seeks peace through a modest life. James Cagney met Frances Billy Vernon in the early 1920s while working on the musical Pitch Patter. Billy's brilliant personality and extraordinary talent immediately won Cagney over, and the two of them were married on September 28, 1922. Their marriage lasted an amazing 64 years, which is uncommon in Hollywood, especially during a period when relationships in the entertainment industry are rare. Although he found happiness in his marriage, James Cagney's family life was not without its challenges. He and Billy were unable to have biological children due to health issues, but in 1940 they adopted two children, James Francis Cagney Jr. and Kathleen Casey Cagney. However, Cagney's relationship with his children, especially his son, was fraught with difficulties. Frequently fell apart, Billy was not only his life partner, but also his steadfast supporter, helping him navigate the ups and downs of his career and personal life. Struggled in life and eventually drifted away from his father. The unresolved tensions between them persisted until James Jr.'s unexpected death from a heart attack in 1984, 2 years before Cagney himself died, left him deeply saddened. He hardly talked about his daughter Kathleen, who was closer to the family but grew apart as she grew older. These broken relationships with his children became a quiet sorrow that Cagney carried into his later years. In 1955, Cagney expanded this dream by purchasing a 120-acre property in Stanfordville, New York, which he named Verney Farm, a combination of his and Billy's names. There, he spent his time farming, raising livestock, and fostering his love for Morgan horses, a breed he loved. A simple, nature-filled life during his contentious battles with Warner Brothers. He first experimented with farming by buying a small farm on Martha's Vineyard to Cagney, found that tending the land and working the fields was more than just a pastime. It was a haven from the demands of Hollywood. Particularly treasured, Cagney led a modest and private life, despite being a worldwide celebrity. He loved painting, a passion he developed under the guidance of artist Sergei Bongard, and he frequently gave his paintings to friends rather than selling them. He also loved boating, despite his propensity for seasickness, even on calm waters. For Cagney, these hobbies were essential ways to keep his life in balance and escape the never-ending demands of fame. And while his farm life provided moments of tranquility, his health started to deteriorate. Significantly, in his later years, James Cagney was first misdiagnosed with glaucoma before being properly diagnosed with diabetes. His health problems, which included a mild stroke in 1955, gradually reduced his capacity to enjoy his favorite pastimes, such as dancing, horseback riding, and painting, but his unwavering spirit persisted. Even though he retired from the screen in 1961, he maintained contact with his fans through interviews and sporadic appearances at important events. Hollywood and the peace of country living. He once said that if he hadn't become an actor, he might have been a poor farmer or painter. Despite his personal struggles and disappointments, Cagney stayed true to his core values, which included simplicity, honesty, and a strong love for life. These values not only helped him become the man he was off-screen, but they also won him the respect and admiration of people long after his time on the silver screen. In his later years, James Cagney retired to a quiet life at his beloved Very. After a career spanning decades, Cagney made a memorable comeback in 1981 with the film Ragtime, his first appearance on screen in almost 20 years. In the film, Cagney played an aging police chief whose health had deteriorated to the point where he performed many of his scenes seated, but his acting prowess remained intact. Farm in Stanfordville, New York. Despite his declining health, he maintained an optimistic spirit and enjoyed a simple life far removed from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Cagney's extraordinary talent had not diminished, and his return to the screen was both a gift to his fans and a final affirmation of his illustrious career. His appearance at the London premiere caused a stir when Queen Mother, who is known for her poise, defied protocol to rise and greet him, later going backstage to meet him personally. This was evidence of the timeless influence of his legacy. As he fought diabetes and other health issues in his final years, Cagney's health continued to deteriorate. Aging, but he refused to allow these hardships to break his spirit. In his darkest hours, he found comfort in reading, spending time with close friends, and embracing the peace of his farm, which he once referred to as where I truly found myself. James Cagney died on Easter Sunday, March 30, 1986, at the age of 86. His passing left a hole in the hearts of both fans and co-workers. His funeral was not only a celebration of a movie legend, but also a chance for friends, family, and other icons too. He was baptized as a child at St. Francis Deal's Church in New York, where he was eulogized by U.S. President Ronald Reagan. In his eulogy, a close friend described him as a man who was not only great on screen, but also a symbol of resilience and integrity. However, a major shock followed his death when his will was made public, and it was revealed that his entire estate was left to his wife Billie, who had been by his side for 64 years. Neither his daughter Kathleen nor the family of his late son James Jr. received an inheritance. However, Billie defended her husband's decisions, saying that he had lived and loved his family in his own way. James Cagney's legacy goes far beyond his amazing performances as a founding member of the Screen Actors Guild, as he played a crucial role in protecting actor rights and improving working conditions at a time when studios wielded near total control over the industry. 49. Any inheritance. This sparked speculation about unresolved family conflicts that Cagney had kept private. His peers, but also established the foundation for upcoming generations of performers with over 30 years of experience. Whether as a gritty gangster, a vibrant musical artist, or a modest man committed to his farm, James Cagney made a lasting impression on the hearts of fans and the history of cinema. He did this not only with his extraordinary talent, but also with his courage, determination, and unwavering creativity. Cagney brought authenticity, strength, and uniqueness to every role and chapter of his life to date. In 1999, James Cagney's image was featured on a U.S. postage stamp, solidifying his status as an American cultural icon. However, his greatest legacy is the inspiration he gave. A tale of extraordinary tenacity, passion, and determination that inspires not only artists but also regular people. His name is honored through award monuments and the classic films he left behind, who aspire to greatness by conquering obstacles. The legend of James Cagney endures in the hearts of moviegoers and people who respect people who don't give up to fate. Please share your opinions in the comments section below. And remember to like and subscribe to our channel so that we can continue to explore the stories of Hollywood legends. What do you think of James Cagney's inspirational journey? Which of his classic roles or life stories had the biggest influence on you? Let's ensure that James Cagney's legacy endures in the hearts of all moviegoers.